Everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to look way beyond that never-ending to-do list. We're going to talk about how to shift from a life that feels kind of reactive and on autopilot to one that's truly driven by your own purpose and intention. So let's dive right in.
So, let me ask you something. Does this sound at all familiar? You have a crazy packed day. You're just racing from one thing to the next. And yeah, your to-do list is a little shorter, but at the end of it all, you just collapse and think, what did I actually do today that really truly mattered? It's this feeling of being, productively adrift. You're definitely moving, but you're not so sure you're heading in the right direction.
So why is that? Why does being constantly busy so often feel, so empty? In this first part, we're going to dig into what I call the tyranny of the to-do and see what happens when our tasks completely take over our lives. And this, right here, is the heart of the problem. When our whole focus is just on doing stuff, completing a task, firing off an email, scheduling another meeting, we can totally lose sight of the why. We get stuck in this loop of just activity, and all that activity just leads to busyness without making any real impact on our bigger goals. It's the classic hamster wheel for sure. But here's the good news. There is a really powerful alternative, and it's called intentional living. Now, this is not about adding more stuff to your plate or just becoming more productive in that old school sense. Nope, it's about a massive shift in your mindset. It's about making deliberate choices so that your actions, your time, and your energy are all pointing in a direction that's actually meaningful to you.
Okay, so how do we actually make that shift? Well, the very first step is to figure out where you're trying to go. It all starts with discovering the why behind what you do, and that means you've got to find your inner compass, your core values.
Seriously, think of your values as the North Star for your entire life. They're these guiding principles that give you direction and a ton of clarity. So when you're faced with a decision, whether it's big or small, your values are the compass that helps you choose the path that is genuinely right for you, not just the one that seems easiest or, the most urgent in the moment. And finding your values doesn't have to be this huge, scary thing. It's really just about carving out a little bit of quiet space for yourself to think. Let's walk through a super simple, 3-step process you can use to start uncovering what really drives you. So grab a notebook, or honestly, just take a quiet moment for this. Ask yourself, when did I feel the most satisfied? Maybe it was when you finally finished a really tough project. Or when was I the happiest? Maybe it was just spending time with family or learning a new skill. What things make me feel proud? The common threads in your answers, things like, say, creativity or community or independence, those are like little breadcrumbs that lead you straight to your core values. All right, so once you have your compass, your values, it's time to choose your destination. This is where we connect that internal why to the external what by setting some really meaningful goals. Now, this is a really important distinction to make. Values and goals are connected, for sure, but they are not the same thing at all. A value, something like learning, is a continuous direction. That's the path you're on always. A goal, like finish an online course, is a stepping stone on that path. It's a specific thing you achieve that helps you live out your value.
And we've got to be intentional about the goals we set too. This means shifting our focus. So look at the left side here. That's being buried in tasks, just focused on the action, right? Make 50 sales calls. Now look to the right. That is being driven by the outcome, focusing on the impact, like increase client engagement by 15%. See the difference? It's about moving from just doing to actually achieving something that matters.
Okay, you've got your compass, you've got your destination. But in our world today, there is this massive obstacle trying to pull us off course every single second of every day: distraction. If we want to live intentionally, we have to learn how to reclaim our focus. Wow. This quote from Thoreau really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? It just forces you to ask, what is the true cost of all our endless scrolling and constant notifications? It's not just our time we're trading away. It's our life. It's the attention we could be giving to things that actually line up with our values.
So how do we fight back? Well, author Cal Newport has this awesome, super practical plan called the digital declutter. Think of it like a 30-day reset. First, you decide on the optional tech you're going to take a break from. Second, you spend that month rediscovering fulfilling things to do offline. And third, you slowly and carefully reintroduce only the tools that genuinely support what you value, and you do it on your own terms.
Now, I know this might all sound like a huge project, but intentional living isn't about some massive overnight transformation. The final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle is building momentum that lasts, and you do that through small, consistent actions.
You should never, ever underestimate the power of a small win. Research actually shows that when you acknowledge each little step forward, it builds your self-confidence and creates this positive feedback loop. When you complete one small, aligned task, it gives you the motivation you need to tackle the next one. This is exactly how you prevent burnout and stay on track for the long haul.
And this is just so important to remember. You don't just magically arrive at an intentional life one day. It's a practice. It's a journey. It's a series of small, mindful choices that you make every single day. The goal here isn't perfection. It's progress. Every single choice to align your actions with your values is a win.
And to help you start, like right now, here are a few microhacks from WorkLifeOS. Don't try to do them all. Just pick one. For example, identify one single work activity that actually energizes you. Or set one boundary, like no work emails after 7 p.m. You could even establish one small daily habit that supports your health. These are not huge, life-altering changes, but they are powerful, intentional steps.
And that brings us right here to our final question. Forget about tomorrow, or next week, or next month. What is one small, deliberate, intentional choice you can make today to align your actions with what truly matters to you? The whole journey really does start with that single step. Thanks so much for joining me.